Miles to millions. Mike Harris was not born into wealth. Raised in rural Ohio, the son of a factory worker and a diner waitress, he grew up believing life was about survival, not success. His father used to say, "You work, you eat." That's the deal. At 17, Mike dropped out of high school. He didn't see the point of textbooks when bills were piling up at home. By 19, he was hauling loads in an old Freightliner, learning the trade the hard way. Sleepless nights, greasy roadside diners, and endless stretches of blacktop. For years, trucking was just a way to get by. The paychecks weren't big, but they were steady enough to cover rent for a small apartment and gas money for his beat-up pickup. But as the years passed, Mike realized he was trapped. He was working harder than ever, yet he had no savings, no home of his own, and nothing to show for the millions of miles behind him. One night, while parked at a dusty Texas truck stop, he stared at his reflection in the side mirror and asked himself, "Am I just going to die on this road, broke and forgotten?" That moment lit a fire inside him. 1. Taking control. In 2011, Mike scraped together every dollar he had, just over $14,000, and bought a used Peterbilt. It rattled, guzzled fuel, and needed constant repairs, but it was his. No more working for dispatchers who treated drivers like disposable machines. Mike was his own boss now. The transition wasn't easy. Without connections, he struggled to find reliable loads. Some weeks he barely broke even. He lived on canned beans, showered at grimy rest stops, and worked 14-hour days. But he kept at it, and slowly, clients began to trust him. He made a name for himself as the driver who always showed up on time, rain or shine. When other truckers canceled loads, Mike picked them up. His reputation grew, and with it, his business. 2. Building a fleet. By 2015, Mike had saved enough to buy a second truck. He hired his cousin, a fellow driver, and treated him like a partner rather than an employee. Unlike big companies that squeeze drivers dry, Mike paid fairly, offered bonuses, and promised honesty. Word spread. Within 2 years, Mike had 5 trucks on the road. He officially registered his company as Harris Hauling LLC, run from a spare room in his small house. His wife, Angela, handled paperwork, dispatching, and invoices while raising their 2 kids. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. What set Mike apart was his philosophy. Take care of drivers, and they'll take care of the loads. His team became loyal, working harder and longer because they knew they were part of something growing. 3. The storm. In 2020, the pandemic hit, and the trucking industry collapsed. Contracts evaporated. Loads that once paid $2,000 were suddenly worth $800. Many trucking companies folded. Mike considered shutting down. His fleet was bleeding money. Some nights, he sat in his office staring at unpaid bills, wondering if he'd made a mistake chasing this dream. But instead of quitting, Mike pivoted. He shifted Harris Hauling into essential goods transportation, food, medical supplies, and cleaning products. He even partnered with a regional hospital network to move PPE and oxygen tanks. The work was grueling, but it paid off. While competitors closed, Harris Hauling trucks kept rolling. By the end of 2020, his revenue had doubled. 4. The breakthrough. In 2021, Mike landed his biggest opportunity yet, a multi-state contract with a national grocery chain. To meet demand, he needed 30 more trucks in just 6 months. Bankers laughed at him. "A truck driver can't scale that fast," they said. But Mike refused to back down. He mortgaged his home, convinced local investors, and struck a deal with a manufacturer for delayed payments. His drivers rallied around him, working overtime to prove they could handle the challenge. Against all odds, Harris Hauling delivered, every load on time. The grocery chain was impressed and extended the contract. Suddenly, Mike wasn't just a trucker. He was running one of the fastest-growing logistics companies in the Midwest. 5. Miles into millions. By 2023, Harris Hauling operated over 120 trucks, with contracts nationwide. Annual revenue passed $60 million. Mike, once a broke kid from Ohio, was now a multimillionaire. But wealth didn't change him. He still wore the same worn-out leather jacket he'd had for a decade. On weekends, he'd climb back into his original Peterbilt, the same rusty rig he bought for $14,000, and drive short hauls just to feel the road under his hands. When journalists asked him the secret to his success, he always said the same thing. "I didn't stop being a trucker. I just learned how to own the road instead of driving for someone else." 6. Legacy. Today, Harris Hauling is more than a company. It's a community of drivers who believe in fairness, loyalty, and grit. Mike funds scholarships for truckers' kids, supports small-town charities, and mentors young drivers who remind him of himself at 19. Looking back, he often tells his story to new hires. I was broke. I was lost. But mile by mile, I built something. Don't ever let anyone tell you a trucker can't dream big. Because I'm living proof that you can. And so, the highways that once carried Mike Harris's doubts now carry his fortune. From Ohio to California, his trucks crisscross the country, each one a reminder that even the loneliest roads can lead to millions, if you have the guts to keep driving.